Record keeping, pricing, and determine profit. We all need to keep good records. We all need to know how to price jobs. You need to go in and charge $10 an hour for labor and pay your employees $11 an hour, right? No.
Other way around.
It needs to be a lot more. Yeah. Some of your bigger lawn care companies say if you're not making $55 an hour, you're losing money. Because
I ran that by one of my buddies who had lawn care business, and he said in his head real quick, and he said, you know, that's right about what it costs right now, just to pay gas, pay our employees, to pay everything.
Pay the payroll taxes every month. And you're paying.
He's only running 4 or 5 people. So.
And you got to have, like I said, you got that truck that's leaving out with gas, mowers on the trailer, the tags on the truck and trailer, the insurance on it, the workman's comp, the general liability, vehicle comprehensive. All of those take into effect. And once you're paying somebody $12, $14 an hour, I mean, a crew leader needs to be making probably $15 an hour. I mean, if you want some,
grossly underpaid me.
Huh? Well,
Grossly underpaid me.
yeah, you're in a family business. I know all about that too.
We all do.
But to get and attract and retain good employees, they got to make money, because if not, they can go out and do the stuff themselves. You know, so you got to make it attractive for them to stay with you. Especially even if you hire somebody brand new off the street that's never done this work before, and you train them to what you want them to be, they're going to quit and go start their own later on. So you got to make it really beneficial for them to stay with you. And that one way is, you know, paying their health insurance, paying, you know, a good salary. They need to, you know, you got to start thinking career. You know, I don't like a business that's full of seasonal employees. I want career-minded people that want to work for us, that want to be there and help you keep growing the business. And if you grow the business, you can pay them more. You know, all that type profit sharing stuff comes into play then. But I've known people that go out there that charge $15 an hour labor, and they're paying their guys $10 an hour. So if that guy goes and works for somebody 8 hours a day, he's only going to charge them 8 times 15. Then he's going to turn around and pay them $80. So what's left has to pay gas, fuel, taxes, and insurance. I mean, he's losing money. He's losing money. But you'll see that all the time. People will be like, "Yeah, I'm getting this for an hour, you know, working." How can you make it? But they do somehow. But keeping business records, they're essential to success. This can get kind of boring, guys. Seriously, writing all this stuff down. Professional accountant needed. I would seriously recommend that. You know, there's some guys out there that have, you know, good rates. They're, you know, they'll say, "Hey, for a flat fee, you're a landscape company, I'll do your taxes for you." And sometimes you just need their advice. You know, pick up the phone and say, "Hey, man, what should I do with this? Should I buy this truck or should I lease it?" Blah blah blah. You want these guys' knowledge. Yeah, and you know, they'll tell you straight up. They're looking at it from the outside. You know, sometimes, you know, we may listen to our spouses saying stuff, you know, "Well, let's do it this way," or whatever. Sometimes that's not a good thing. And it's like if you do form a corporation, when we talked about that, and we're talking about having a board of directors, you know, your accountant, your lawyer, and stuff like that, you know, meet with them once a month, you know, take them out to lunch, just get their advice, say, "Hey, what's going on?" Then we need to give direction to the business operation. You know, if you're tracking what's being done, you can kind of see what's going to go ahead in the future. So it's going to point you on the right path. It's going to track areas of strength and weakness. And seriously, we didn't know this until we started tracking how much time the guys were being at a job. Because, and this isn't bragging. I'm nowhere near bragging. But when it comes to my dollar, when me and Dad would go and cut a piece of property, that means mow, blow, and go, we could do it in 15 minutes. But sometimes we could send 3 guys to do what me and him did last week in 15 minutes, and there's that extra person, and it take them 25 minutes. So we're like, what's going on here? What's going on? Smoke breaks, stuff like that. Yeah. So tracking this and knowing exactly how long it takes to do a job will help you send out the right people. And if you tell your employees, I'm only going to pay you 15 minutes to do this job, and that's kind of what you call piece rate. There's a lot of companies going to that, where you're charging somebody $60 to cut their yard. You're going to send 2 employees out there to do it, and they might split $25 between them, and then you're taking $35 for paying the equipment and gas. Because if they're on piece rate, you don't have to take out taxes. It's kind of like subcontractor work. Well, you're legally are, but that's where we need to talk to an accountant.
1099.
You can 1099 them.
So at that point, they're considered a subcontractor, and 1099 really gives them the power to.
Yeah, but the thing there is, though, if they're using your equipment and your trucks and stuff, are they really subcontractors? I would like to talk to an accountant about that. But there are a lot of people that's doing that, and if the accountant says yes, then we would do it. But you really don't know. If you just get all these yards lined up and you've never worked in them yourself or done anything for that client, you're not going to know how long it really takes to do it. So you may be losing money, especially when you're doing something for a contract. So you got to track all that, and then you got a comparison of the present with the past. So is crew number 1? Is they're slacking off last year when they only spent this many hours? And CLIP software, computerized loan industry program. It's nothing but a scheduler. It can be used in any aspects of horticulture, whether you're cutting grass, growing crops in a greenhouse. If you're doing landscape installation jobs, it's got a projects module that goes with it. CLIP, C-L-I-P. Awesome people. Those are probably some of the best people in this business for business management. And they still cut grass themselves. They are grass cutters. And they wrote a software program that's being sold to, across the United States that does the tracking. It'll do estimating. It links up with QuickBooks to send out the bills. I mean, it's just an all.
If it's clip.com or something.
I think it is clip.com.
It's just software, though. It's all kinds of different software.
Yeah. And they've got even a little handheld, so when your guys pull up to the truck, we're
That's
here
what I have.
here at Joe Smith.
That's what I have.
And when you left, you punched out. So it tracked who was there. And it knows which employees was with that job site. So they're calculating man hours, everything.
And then it tells you how long they took to get to the site. Because
Yeah.
if it's clocking in every time.
Clock in and out.
You're like, look, it took you 40 minutes to get there, and we should have only had you down for about 20 minutes.
And it'll also route the jobs,
In order.
in order that the way they need to go.
That's why I had to have them, because I could never order, and the most efficient route was not my strong point.
Yep. Well, see, they'll look at a GPS map, and you pull in all those customer addresses, and boom, it'll tell. But you, as a business owner, you should know that route yourself. And if you're sending out a crew, you say you're going to go this way, this way, this way. Woo. Good record system. Simple to use and structured to fit the needs of particular business it serves. Simple to use. That's the ticket. Because some of those software programs can get a little complicated. And I keep telling my brother, who is a software engineer, that's all he does is look at code all day long. Poor fella. I feel sorry for him. Sits down in his basement and he's writing programs. But he gets his work done. He works from his home, so he doesn't work continuously. I'm like, Brent, you need to take and write a software that's real easy to use, that every single landscape, greenhouse, install guy has to have.
You know what it is? I know it.
What?
Do an app for your phone.
Yeah, and so he's wrote many apps.
And it's an ID app. Just go take a picture of plant, scan, and then pull up the name of what kind of plant it is.
Now they do have some
They got
like
something like that right now?
Yeah.
Cool. What's the name of it?
I don't know it. There's some that are free, and there's some that are like $10.
Taking plant test.
But you know, because Clip, you know, I love Clip. They're a little pricey. Plus, you got to keep getting updates.
Yeah.
I think it'd be something neat if you could charge somebody $20 a month. You know, that it's on a cloud, and all their customers are there. It's secured. They'll never lose their customer list. They'll never lose any of their invoices. It's always there. And for $20 a month, they can access it from a cell phone, iPad, any. Huh? I know they already had that, but I'm talking about landscape companies.
An address book? Is that essentially what you're saying?
No, but one that'll track how long you're there at the job site. You know, the pricing. Hey, this customer's got 4,200 square feet of lawn. It's going to take 2 bags of lime, 1 bag of, 1824. Anything that would be needed for a landscape business that people don't have to spend $500 to buy, and then they got to spend $150 for updates every year.
It says pay $20, a flat fee of $20 a month.
Yeah. But something that could, like this is saying, structure to fit the needs of particular business it serves. So if you're growing in a greenhouse crop, let the scheduler work tailor fit that. If you're mowing lawns, let it tailor fit that. Just something that's a little more profitable. I mean, a little more easier to swallow the cost than a $500 purchase of software.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you have to have somebody else working on it at the same time, you got to buy, like a site license. But it needs to be easily understood by people making the decisions on behalf of the business. So some of your employees, your secretary or your administrative assistants, it's easy for those guys and gals to understand. But it needs to be accurate and consistent and able to provide current information whenever needed. And that's the key. I think, if you're at home and you need to look up something about your business, you can just log into the computer. You don't have to drive to the office and look at the software that's installed on the machine there. Be neat if you could just log in somewhere. And like I said, there's probably some that are like that or similar to it. But I'm talking about something that's affordable that every landscaper has to have. That's
like a lawnmower.
Yeah, well, but seriously, even if you created a lawnmower that was inexpensive and did the best mowing stripes ever, and every landscaper had to have one on his truck, will you ever have to work again? No. How many times have I told you, guys, if you can think of something to sell to every landscape, greenhouse, nursery, anybody in the green industry has to have, you're going to be millionaires.
Won't be doing that.
Look at this, the Velcro wallet. I still carry one. Robert Kiyosaki created this thing. A $5 Velcro wallet. Look how many people had those years ago. I'm probably still the only one that has one, right?
Mine just disintegrated. I just got a new wallet.
Did you get a Velcro?
Basically, but not. Mine was Velcro before.
And so, something simple like that. But if you can create something, look how many landscapers are in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Think about if you could sell one to everyone in North Carolina, or to one in the Southeast, or if one in the country. Something that everybody has to sell, and that you can put it on a UPS truck and have it to them the next day. Boom.
My buddy with the landscape company, they designed, and the guy's getting money thrown at him right now, his partner, because he's designing a thing to kill weeds. That's just like a CO2 can or whatever, and you just overdose the plants with CO2, and it just kills them automatically. It's crazy.
If every landscaper's got to have it.
Yeah, he's like, they've been working on it for about 3 or 4 years.
More money, more money. There's only 2 kinds of money problems, too much and not enough. Which one did you rather have?
Yeah.
I'd rather for somebody to tell me you got to spend money this year so you don't have to pay taxes. Go buy that new truck. Go buy that tractor. Heck yeah. That's my dream. You hear people complaining, man, I've got to spend so much money this year or I have to pay taxes. Don't complain to me.
Well, when you got enough money, you got to spend some.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, man.
Oh. Types of business records. You got to keep up with your sales, including services performed. QuickBooks, perfect for that. Cash receipts, cash expenditures, or what you spend, and accounts receivable. sometimes the problem is you don't know how much money you're spending. You really don't know how much volume of work that you're doing, and you get a little leery of that. You're like, whoa, and then your accountant tells you, hey, you're making too much, you're not making enough. You can always, and my accountant always said you can always run on negative cash flow for 2 years before it catches up with you. So that's why these people need to be in your corner and on your advisory board. Information gleaned for records. Your monthly sales. You need to know which months are best for you, whatever business you're doing, so you can always prepare and gear up for it. You need to know the cost of your sales. You might do a $5,000 job, but you've spent $4,500 in materials. It's not one you want to do again, probably. Payroll. That's the biggest one. That's the first thing Uncle Sam's going to come and lock you up for if you're not paying payroll taxes correctly. You'll be knocking at that door. And cost efficiency. Just like I said, me and my dad could go cut a yard in 15 minutes. We send 3 guys next week and it takes them 25. What's the cost involved in doing that particular job? You need to know it. And then time requirements for various services. Goes back to cost efficiency. How long is it going to take for that crew to do it? And when it's your dollar, you're always going to be more efficient at doing something than somebody else. So you kind of need to take that into consideration. You're going to go and give it all because you want to get done and get the bigger cut of the check. But your employees necessarily won't do that. And that's why profit sharing and all that is good, because the more money the company makes, the more money they would get like at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Depreciation of fixed assets, that you do need to have an accountant. That's stuff that I really don't want to get into. You buy a piece of equipment, you can depreciate it over so many years. So you got to have the experts telling you what to do. Operational overhead expenses. There's guys out there now spending $10,000, $15,000 a month in fuel when they're running that many trucks and mowers on the road. You need to know what it costs you to operate per crew, per route, and greenhouse business. You need to know how much fuel it's going to cost to heat the greenhouse. Are you going to heat it with wood? You're going to heat it with propane, oil, all different
ways right now.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to look at trying to heat a greenhouse, and you get all kinds of incinerators and all kinds of stuff.
Yep. And you got to look at, hey, is the equipment cost more up front for that? But something that in 5 years it's paid for itself because you've saved money on fuel, or do you go ahead and put in like a propane tank, which is going to pretty much always be costly. Profitability of specific promotions and services. Hey, does it pay for us to do a radio or TV ad in the fall of the year when we're selling our fall annuals or when we're doing our plugging and seeding? You need to know how much money you're going to make on that. Is it worth spending $5,000 to get $25,000 worth of business? Well, maybe not. It just depends. Can you handle all the work that could come in from an advertisement? Back to my brother again. He wants to see if he can sell websites to landscapers. Very inexpensive. He'd do all the hosting, do all everything for. He's like, I'm afraid I'm going to grow too big too quick. I'm like, why would that ever be a fear of somebody? If you build a business where it's growing and you've got to hire people to help you, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You don't have to have control over every little aspect of your business. You need to know what's going on, but you can hire people to work for you. And that's just not what he wants to do. He's like, man, if I could just get 50 customers, blah, 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 that I think I could handle that. But if I get 51, man, I have to hire somebody else. Well, if you're going to have to hire somebody else, why not get 100? Let them handle 50 and you handle 50.
Why not just have 50?
Huh?
Why not just have 50? That's my...
That's you're cut off.
Yeah.
But he's like, I just don't want to turn down work. It's that fear of, hey, what if I lose 10 next year? Can I call these people back?
Down, I'm just so busy right now, I can't handle it, but I'll call you as soon as I get open. So people think like, wow.
Now you can turn, there's nothing wrong with turning down work. But when you advertise something, you want to make sure you can handle, the calls that you're getting. You don't want to put an ad in the paper or TV and you get 500 people call where you can only handle 50. Maybe you need to target your areas. Just send, if you're doing a paper ad, you can tell the Winston-Salem Journal, hey, only do it in this zip code or something. But that's why you've got to keep track of all this. If you did something like this 2 or 3 years ago, and you're like, hey, we spent $500 on dropping flyers in the newspaper, and we got $5,000 worth of work, that's good. Well, maybe if we spent $1,000 on advertising, can we get 10,000? Always be able to track it and know how many calls that you're going to get based on that. And guys, still some of the best ways of getting business is putting flyers on doors. I mean, there's certain neighborhoods you can't solicit, and I thought it was a big waste of time. But you get calls. You get calls putting flyers on doors.
We get tree service guys come out in our neighborhood all the time.
Me too.
Terrible.
Daily.
Yeah.
Even though there's like stumps in my front
But
yard, still get 'em.
are the flyers attractive, and do they catch your attention, or is it something you're like,
Ring my
ugh?
doorbell.
No, it's usually like a little business card I think get.
See, I like the 4-colored photograph looking stuff, but it's kind of hard to advertise cutting down a stump. There's nothing glamorous about that.
I'll remember next. I'll bring next Friday.
I always get a postcard type thing in the mail from an arborist. I can't think of his name.
Neil.
But if it's in the mail,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
spending money on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. He spends a bunch of money. Is it Neil Perkins? I think. Yeah, nice guy,
Neil
nice guy.
Perkins.
But yeah, you get
Like a
something.
music person.
You get. I mean, there's some. We get something in the mail all the time too.
Carl ain't got nothing to do with it.
But he wouldn't keep doing that if he wasn't generating
Right.
work.
True.
That's incorporated into his budget. I'm gonna spend so much money a year on direct mail.
Some
It's
people
gonna
look at
produce
it
so
like,
much.
You spent the money to put it in my mail. I'm gonna at least look at it and stuff. too.
Yeah. And how many times have they got to see something before they remember your name? 3 times. First time they're probably, Second time, yeah, I remember it. Yeah, okay, it looks familiar. Third time, they know you. Yeah, and then they see your truck out working somewhere. They're like, there's a guy gets stuff in the mail. Yeah, I remember I got that tree that's got a dead limb in it. I need to call him. So it works. Elements of financial statement. Your balance sheet displays the status of the business. Assets, liabilities, net worth as a statement date and identifies trends. Woo, that's what, when you go to the bank to get a loan, they're going to say, let me see your balance sheet. They're going to be like, well, what are you talking about? Good thing about it, if you're using QuickBooks, it's automatically doing this for you. When you enter your sales, when you enter your costs,
Or your,
everything.
or your personal accountant when you're
Yeah. But the good thing about QuickBooks, accountants, if you're a CPA, you get a free copy of QuickBooks anyway. You can get that. So a lot of them, they're like, man, you got it on QuickBooks? Heck yeah, I want to do your stuff. So then you can save your company file to a little zip drive, or if you got it where they can log in from remotely, they can go in and say, yeah, okay, here's a balance sheet. Boom, go to the bank, get that money that you need to expand. It's the sad thing about QuickBooks, you could really spend all day and all night in it because it does so much for you. Do you really have all the time to put in that information? Not if you're working out in the
I
field.
don't need someone specialized in QuickBooks.
Yeah.
Sit there all day and put
And-
10
and-
minutes with it.
Yep. You can take a class, but still, do you have time to do every single thing that it can do for you?
You may not need that now.
Yeah, you may not need it, but sometimes that information is good. It's just like with a credit card statement. Do you enter, my mom enters every single thing on their credit card in the QuickBooks. Like if dad goes to Lowe's and buys, a $25 pair of pruners, it's going in there on such and such date. Here's the ticket number. It's in QuickBooks. And would my dad do that? No, because he's out working all day. He gets home. He's not going to worry about that. Mom can track every expense to where it was spent, and that's good, huh?
You need that.
You need that.
Especially if you're delegating work, because is somebody stealing your pruners? How often are you having to buy
To replace them. Yeah.
and your gas and all that stuff?
And job costing. If you got 2 or 3 jobs going on at the same time, and you go to the nursery to buy plants,
half the time
what's a PO number?
The spouse is the one that does the QuickBooks, because I mean, in my dad's business, my mom does it, my aunt's business, my uncle does it, because it's just the opposite one who has the spare time.
Yeah, and there's certain things, I like the administrative side, but I like sales. Sales is probably my favorite thing to do with any customer. But then I'd rather do the paperwork of the business. I like running the business. I like, I like working on my business, not in my business. Y'all understand the difference? You're making your business better. You're not the one actually out there, doing the manual labor. Profit and loss statement records money earned or lost over a period of time. You always hear P&Ls. My wife used to do that for Krispy Kreme, and she no longer works there since we had our first baby. A big mistake. It was good money. But she was in accounts receivable, and she was always doing, she did more of their sales and their profits off of it. And then they had accounts payable. I mean, they were big enough, they had 2 separate departments. But in a small business like that, you're going to do accounts receivable and payable by one person, the owner or the spouse. And then it's a comparison over time that reveals the company growth or stagnation. So you're going to know if you're making money or if periods go kind of bad. In the horticulture business, probably winter is probably our slowest months. So we'll start seeing that in our.
And that's why it's so hard to work people all year round
Yeah.
in the landscaping business, unless you can generate some winter work and like y'all do the Christmas
with the Christmas lights, leaf blowing, or gutter clean outs.
Gutter clean out.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do away with gutter clean outs because they put the
covers over them.
Yeah.
Gutter guards.
Gutter guards.
They're expensive.
Yeah, but I see a lot of people putting them up too.
But financial ratios, profitability. How much money are you making? Are you making a profit? Liquidity. If you were to sell everything, how much liquid cash would you have? What is your liquid? What is your liquid assets? That means if you sold everything, paid all your bills, how much cash is left over? Starting out, probably 0.
We owe.
Probably,
And I always hear, I ate lunch at Allen's Dairy Treats. Y'all ever know where that's at on Renolda?
no, is it good?
Allen's Dairy Treats. Used to be a Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
It's right there on Renolda Road, across from Shouse Nursery, kind of. And the New Family Dollar, yeah. There's a landscaper in there, and we've known, quite a while. He's like, yeah, I'm waiting to sell my business for $100,000, man. I just know somebody's going to make $100,000. Okay, really? And you see what he's operating out of. First of all, when you buy somebody out, you usually buy them out for 1 year's gross sales of the previous year. So did you do $100,000 worth of business last year? A one-man operation? Probably not. But then, my equipment's worth this. Your equipment's 7-8 years old. You got a 10-year-old truck. Why do you think somebody's going to buy your business for $100,000? Then there's another guy who is buying those businesses. When somebody says they're going to sell their business, he'll go to them and say, "I'll give you 25 cents on the dollar." So if they're wanting $100,000, he'll give them $25,000, which is probably more what it's worth than the $100,000. But if you are a multi-million-dollar business who did $5 million worth of horticulture business the previous year, somebody is going to come in and pay you $5 million for it. They'll want all that. They want that customer list.
We'll get it back after the first year.
Yeah, maybe not the first year, but they'll soon get it back, because what it is going to be another bigger company that's already got systems in place, and they're just wanting
Your
that
logo to go away, basically, right?
Yeah.
They just want you to go away.
They want your customers and for you to go away.
Well, or sometimes what's good about that sometimes is that they'll buy you out and you get that big chunk of change, and then they're going to offer you a job to still kind of manage those customer lists. So it's kind of, it
Yeah,
can,
you manage these people, why don't you just come back
yeah,
and work?
it can be a win-win situation.
Get money. And
But it's easier to sell a business that's doing a lot of volume of dollars than it is the one-man operation. And then leverage. How much credit worthy do you have? What can you leverage to get this? Pricing, merchandise, and services. Price components. Yeah, your materials, labor, overhead, and profit. No matter what type of horticulture business you're running, you've always got to look at that. If you're starting seeds, if you're putting in plugs and trays, if you're stepping up 1 gallons to 3 gallons, all that's materials. How much labor is going to be involved? How much overhead? Overhead includes everything that's related. Your employees, what you're paying them. If you're in the greenhouse, the cost of fuel in that greenhouse, all of it. And then how much profit when it's all said and done. And sometimes we have to wait on our profit. That's the bad thing. That's the bad thing. It's like farmers, they have to borrow money to sow the fields every year. And then they get paid once they harvest the crop. They pay the bank off and what's left is theirs. We kind of have to do that, in greenhouse and nursery business too. Become good friends with Carolina Farm Credit. Those are the guys that finance agricultural and horticulture crops. They do a lot of landscape
They give out a lot of money.
Yeah. And they're a lot easier to work with than traditional banks. But they also do home mortgages.
That's on the opposite side of where you go to cooperative extension, right?
Yeah, they're a financial institution.
Yeah, so like here's cooperative extension, and there's like that building on the side of them or something like that.
No, their new building is up in Rural Hall for Forsyth County.
They just recently moved.
Yeah, they built a brand new place up there. Yeah. They used to be on Patterson, near the UPS plant, or
Downtown.
well, it's near downtown. Yeah, but it's before you get like into Augment or what's that?
Ardmore?
No, it's near the driver's license place on Patterson. They were just down the street from them, and then across the street was like, yeah, right beside Sunbelt. I think. Well, no, down the near it. Yeah, near it. But there used to be another rental place there close to them. Then right across the street, I think it's New Holland Tractor or Winston Ford Tractor. They used to be there. But yeah, if it weren't for those people, they have really helped my dad. I mean, they're there. For the guy that's in this business, all their customers are farmers, landscapers, greenhouse people, nursery people, and they do home mortgages too. We used to have me and my wife used to have our mortgage with them. The rates are a little bit higher, but you got to check at the end of every year for almost like one mortgage payment. It's because you're like a member of their association, which it's kind of like, I don't know if they called it profit sharing or what, but. You get a big check at the end of the year. That kind of made up for the difference, paying a little bit more on their interest. But then we refinance. We got such a great deal with SunTrust.
SunTrust,
and then SunTrust sold it out to U.S. Home Bank or whatever. And somebody else will probably buy the mortgage later. It's crazy the way they do that stuff.
Really?
But failure to measure any component accurately results in unfair pricing, hurts business and or the client. Yeah, you need to know. You can't go in there and guesstimate for them. You need to know exactly what it's going to cost you. Materials sometimes is the easiest thing to figure. It's the time that it takes to do the job is what's going to, it might hurt you. But over time, you become the expert in it. You know how long it's going to take to do that particular job in whatever route you go. It's a trial and error. It's like the strawberries. My dad doing it. This is his 5th season. Cooperative Extension came out Monday and told him, said, Orville, this is the best crop you've ever had. You're going to make money this year. And Dad says, yeah. And he's like, if I didn't make, he said, I'm tired of breaking even. He said, I want some money in my pocket. And like they said, and Tim, the guy that's head of strawberries for Forsyth County, he told him, he said, you ain't going to make no money the first 3 or 4 years. He said, you might lose money. He said, this is a trial and error. He said, you know what mistakes not to make and the correct things to do, and it's going to be fine. I mean, our plants look, just gorgeous. Crowns all over them. They're going to produce some berries. Cool. Best crop we've ever had. So
now y'all know how to do it.
now we know how to do it. We know exactly the time to plant. See, it was like, I mean, and the difference between that and making money, do you plant it 2 weeks early or do you wait 2 weeks to plant it? You know, simple thing is 2 weeks like that either makes a difference whether you make money or not.
Yeah, probably helps that we have a pretty warmer.
Yep. And he told us we're not even going to have to cover them. He said your plants are healthy enough and the size they need to be right now that we're not going to have to pull tarps over it. And he's just like, yes.
So there's money
Saved in that.
Save money in labor too. So
Yep.
that's a lot of labor covering everything.
And it always happens at like 9, 10 o'clock at night when he's looking at the weather and he said, oh man, hard freeze tonight. Come on, boys. And we're down there pulling them things off in pajamas and boots.
In the dark?
Yeah, headlamps.
Bummer.
But overhead cost of providing the service or product not directly related to materials or labor. You know, that's the power to run your office. That's the internet connection in your office. That's heating your office. That's you know, the taxes that you're paying. All, you know, some of that overhead you can't really charge to the client. But I have in the construction side of things, general contractors, they'll charge an overhead cost. They'll factor in overhead, and you'll see it on the estimate. They'll price the job, and then they'll say overhead cost. It's part of their estimate to the client and in the contract, and it's legitimate to put that in there. I mean, it's a cost of doing business. That shouldn't come out of profit, really. It should be kind of divided out over all of your customers. But I guarantee you, in the landscape industry or horticulture, if you put that on an invoice to one of your clients, you're not going to have that client anymore.
And now, did you notice, like, about around 10 years ago, it used to be a good common practice to mark your materials up about 10 to 20%? Yeah, notice now we don't mark our materials up no more.
No.
You mark your labor up because people can't stand if you mark the materials up.
Well, we line itemize everything on the estimate, but it shows no cost. Now, on our computer screen, it shows the cost. If we're buying a 3-gallon shrub for $12 and we're selling it to the client for $25, they're not even going to see that $25. They're going to get that grand total at the bottom. We do hereby furnish labor, materials, and 1-year warranty for this landscape job for X amount of dollars. They can't start calling up, well, how much do you sell an azalea for? How much do you sell a crepe myrtle in a 7-gallon? They're not going to be able to find that. All they're going to see is lump sum.
We won't even take a job anymore if they say they're buying their own materials because
Yeah.
you get so many problems with it.
Well, you planted it wrong. You got to warranty it. No, you didn't buy the plant from us. We don't warranty it. Best thing is, like I said, don't even do it. But then fixed overhead, salaries, rent, utilities. You know what that's going to be. So whether or not do we charge it? Yeah. I don't know why. Construction people get away with it. They also get away with a mobilization charge. We'd have people call us and say, when we were doing jobs for the O'Reillys, all right, we need you to come down here and do this week, but come back next week. How much is it going to be? How much will it cost us to mobilize you? You know, because if you can go and do the job in like a 2-day job and stay there and finish it, it's cheaper for you to do that. But if you have to load up twice to come and do the job in 2 separate instances, it's going to cost you more money. So they're like
2 or 3 hours to do the job.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And the same thing, if you ever get into the snow removal business, and a lot of landscape contractors do, you charge a mobilization because guess what? You got your trucks out there that you're working. You're not going to drive around all winter with the plows on. It takes some time hooking up the plow and putting a salt spreader in the back of the pickup. You'll take an hour doing that per truck. So if the weatherman's calling for X amount of snow and all of a sudden it doesn't snow and you've loaded all that stuff up and put it on your trucks, you're just out of money. So when we do a lot of stuff for Northwest Snow Management, you know, what's the cost of getting ready? My neighbor that does all the work for the state, they pay him a mobilization fee to get all that stuff loaded, and they actually have them go down to the state office and sit in the dump trucks, and they're getting paid.
And when on the snow?
before waiting on the snow. They're there so many hours, and as soon as it starts falling, man, they're on the roads, but they're getting paid.
That's pretty cool. Quick, because if they're sitting there waiting, they can get out there and move that snow. And
Yeah.
you can get to work and
Yeah,
stuff.
and it's a whole lot cheaper to pay them guys than to, somebody sue the state for not having the roads cleared and all. I mean, whether or not, I'm sure people sue you for anything now.
So you're going to see more states privately contracting things out like that, probably.
Well, but they just paved our road, and it was all state employees. They started out with the private contractor who couldn't finish it on time, so they got rid of him, and then finished it up with state employees. And they did it a whole lot quicker, The state was in and out. They did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
But then variable overhead, temporary expenses, site permits, all that. If you're having to buy a permit to do the landscape job for somebody, you got to think about that. Certain municipalities require that. Now irrigation, you got to have irrigation permits. You're tapping into a city water main, so all that's it's going before you can even start the irrigation system. It was costing almost $1,000 just to start the job. With permits, tapping into the sewer line, to the water line, having the actual backflow installed, and certified, licensed. It has to be done by a licensed plumber. You got $1,000 before you even start the irrigation system.
Yeah. Wow.
And break-even point, not a good thing. It occurs when the total revenue equals total cost. It's neither profit nor loss. You don't want that. Probably looks good on the taxes because you're kind of hiding some stuff in there, but you got to make money, guys. You can't just break even. This is a threshold above which income become profit, and then threshold below which expenses are larger than income. And that last one is definitely not what you want. You don't want to lose money. Don't want to lose money. Breaking even's better than losing. And setting the percent markup influences on unit pricing, price charged by competitors. How much return on equity owner wants in order to maintain profitability. There's some people, man, and what really gets me is in this business, there's people that get in business just so they can pay for their own lawnmower to cut their own yard or to pay for their vehicle. You see that a lot with people that have other jobs that work 2 days, off 3, on 3, off 2. I didn't want to say that, but yeah, exactly. They're the ones that they want that brand new truck and they want a walker mower to cut their own lawn, so they're charging just enough to make the monthly payments for that. And I'm like, guys, that hurts everybody all around.
There's a guy like that in my neighborhood, and he does a terrible job of cutting grass. He puts ruts in people's yard and spinning his tires from going too fast.
But he's doing a cheap price, and he's making enough money to pay that walker mower payment and the brand new truck payment.
Slaughtering people's mailboxes with a weed whip.
And what it is, he's charging so little of a price that he's having to hurry up and get done. So I'm going to the next one. And if I do 4 of these in a yard, I might make $10 an hour.
Yeah, he does the yards on the street too. He drives a huge truck with a huge trailer 10 feet down the road and blocks the road.
Then equity, dollar amount of assets owned by business not offset by indebtedness. So if you add up everything that you own and then you add up everything that you owe, the difference between what you own and what you owe is your equity. Total assets plus total liabilities. That's all taught in an accounting class, which would be good for you guys. It's sometimes it's scary to add up all your assets and all your liabilities, and you're like, God, I'm gonna be in debt the rest of my life.
Boring class.
Accounting? Nah.
I love math.
It's very useful. though.
It's very useful.
I mean, I took it last semester, and I'm horrible at math, but once you understand the way it works and how your liabilities and your assets add up and how you can, lease your equipment. I mean, we had a little teacher. She taught us all kinds of, just to kind of get you thinking about your own business and realistically.
Yep.
Because she'd done it for 25 years, and it's very, very valuable. It's very much worth it. Somebody has time to take it.
And Wesley, you should know a lot about assets plus liabilities being a general contractor. You know, you got to show that every year to maintain your license.
$10,000. Yeah, well, no, we charge 25 for hours.
And that's for minimum limited, right?
Yeah,
Limited license.
That covers up to 250,000.
Yeah.
There's like 25, and then 50 is unlimited. I think is 50.
It's 150 for. No, it's 100.
It's 50. I think it goes 10, 25, and 50 is what it does. And then you.
You sure?
And then there's 100 that covers commercial.
They must have changed it since I did, because I ran an unlimited license for 2 years.
You get bonded too, and you can't get bonded.
And that's the state of North Carolina.
Yeah, it's the state of North Carolina. I got it 2 years ago.
I had to show 100,000 liquid cash assets for 2 years to maintain that. And there was, you know, I was working really hard with my accountant.
When we were in Maryland, it was crazy easy. All you had to have was a business license up there. Their contractor's test was nothing about, can you build a house?
The same thing with the state of Virginia.
It's like, do you know how to file taxes?
That shows a little bit sometimes.
I had a irrigation license and landscape license in Virginia when we were doing the O'Reillys up there. Nothing on the test about landscaping or irrigation. It was all workman's comp, general liability, questions like.
It makes you feel, you should feel pretty safe. We have to, there's
Yeah,
a pretty big comprehensive exam for that one.
Yep.
And I mean, it's it. He had to show 25 straight cash here for his 250. And then we can jump up real quick if we want to.
Yeah.
If we need to. But how often do you get a job over 250,000 that you can't break into separate payments? As long as you can break it and it's not $250,000 payment right all together.
But it's the total job for the total year.
But you can break it. You can break that. No, it's for per job. I can't take a job over 250,000. And then we can do over $250,000 worth of work. It's just a single job.
Yeah. Yeah. For that owner, same owner.
Yeah. And how often that doesn't happen?
No, not this day and time.
Maybe when I'm 80 years old, we'll see those days happen again.
Mathematics of profit calculation. The key, remember to divide cost by inverse of desired profit percentage. Markup, the difference between wholesale cost of materials and retail selling price. So, the markup, what we was just talking about, do we mark up our materials?
Yep.
Yes, you mark it up, you just don't let the client know. I give them that lump sum. You know, hey, for this amount of money, and you list everything they're going to get. You know, if they're getting 5 azaleas, 2 crepe myrtles, 4 laurel petals, I mean, all that's listed on the estimate, but they're not seeing cost per plant.
Yeah, we started doing it when JLC, General Light Construction, started putting everything in there about what you should do about your contracting business, what everybody was taking. They're trying to say, look, to keep yourself afloat, and it really helped not to mark up our materials.
But where we run into problem is landscapers. We go and buy something from a wholesale nursery. If they tell the client a retail price, if they have wholesale and retail prices, you're a little bit safe if they call and start checking prices. But the problem is some of these guys don't even do wholesale anymore. Everybody's paying retail, even if you're a landscaper. So if you're buying a shrub for $14 and the client calls and says, well, how much can I buy that shrub for? And they say $14, and then they see that we're charging them $28, where we doubled it, you're going to get in trouble. Yeah, they're gonna be like, "Why?"
You don't itemize each price.
Yeah, don't itemize the price. I love the lump sum.
Yeah,
love the lump sum.
Got it.
And then your markup, it covers the cost of acquisition and handling of goods being sold. So yeah, you can. And we've had people that's questioned before when we was doing it the old way. Well, why are you charging this much for this shrub when I call Joe's Landscaping and I can buy it for this? Like, okay, Mr. and Miss Smith. All right, go and buy the plant materials, and we will install it for you. Well, Eric, we don't have a truck. Okay. All right, that's why I'm a little bit higher. But if you still want to do it, have them deliver it for you. Okay, let me call and see. How much will you cost to deliver that? Well, that'll be, $75 trip charge. Eric, they're going to charge me $75 to deliver. Okay, so look at the cost. Now you see why I'm marking it up. And don't forget, Mr. and Miss Smith, they're open 8 to 5. You're going to have to take a day off of work to go and get it.
Yeah.
You're going to be losing that much money as well.
Because it's not open on the weekend.
Not open on the weekend. Look, I'm doing this for you cheaper than if you can go and buy it yourself. If you take a day off of work and go buy it, or pay them the trip charge, you know, it doesn't pay. Plus, if you buy the plants, they're not going to give you a 1-year warranty. We are. So if something happens and you buy the plant, oh well, you're going to have to go and buy it yourself again, and then ask me to come back out and play it. And then I'm going to charge you a trip charge, whether I'm planting one plant or not. It's going to be $50 minimum just to show up to plant that one. So let us handle it. We're the turnkey people. Alternate pricing methods. Direct cost pricing, profit margin pricing, time and materials pricing, and direct markup pricing. All that, it's explained really good in the book. Probably the way we do it is time and materials, you know, marking up a little bit of each. Sometimes direct markup pricing, you know, for our O'Reilly Auto Parts jobs. When we bought a 3-gallon shrub for, I can't remember what's a good average price for a 3-gallon shrub. I'm thinking wholesale probably around $7 possibly, because we always charged $21.50 to O'Reilly's for a 3-gallon shrub. But
Like
there might be
over double.
that's over double. But that included everything. That included planting and the mulch. They wanted to see per price per plant, and they were used to that. And they were kind of like, "Hey, if you can do the job this way, you'll get as many as you want." So we're like, "Yeah, we did the math. You know, if we can sell it to them for $21.50, and you have 500 3-gallon Dorf Burford Hollies on a job, yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it for that." And we would actually call the wholesale nurseries and have them delivered there. You know, we had it, I mean, the system. We showed up with 2 trucks and, you know, 5 people, and we had everything delivered. Yeah, it cost a little bit more, but we got there. And we were just direct, we were marking up the materials and doing it from that way. And we made money. Time and materials, you'll see a lot of home builders or remodelers kind of do that. Probably.
Time and material a lot, because, and people hate it when we come in and say, it's going to be a time and material
Yeah.
job. They're like, well, we've had 7 people come out and look at it, but they won't take the job. But the reason is...
You don't know what you're getting into.
You don't like the estimate, and you don't want to take the time and material job. Well, when we open up this
Wall.
shower, when we open up this shower and there's mold or something behind there, and we have to come and totally shut off a room, we don't know what we're finding when we open up a wall. And they're like, well, I don't know if I want to do it. Well, man, you can sit here and watch us and make sure we don't waste your dollar on the time and material, because that's what they think of.
Yeah, they think you're going to ride it out.
Yeah. And we just tell them, hey, you can sit here and watch us. We're not going to waste your dollar.
Well, that concludes record keeping, pricing, and determining profits.